All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to take a really close look at the US immigration system. But we're not just going to talk about the big headlines. We're going to get into the weeds and explore some of the subtle shifts happening just under the surface. Shifts that are actually a huge deal.
So, getting a US visa has always been a complicated mess, right? That's nothing new. But what's changing right now isn't necessarily the laws on the books, but how those laws are being interpreted and enforced. The unwritten rules are changing, and it's creating a much tougher environment in ways you won't see in any official press release. Okay, so first up, let's just frame the overall climate. What experts are seeing is this clear trend toward more scrutiny, more enforcement all across the board. We're calling it the immigration squeeze, and it's a really good way to think about the new kinds of pressure that applicants are facing.
This quote, it comes from legal experts who are in the trenches dealing with this stuff every single day, and it just nails the feeling on the ground. It's not about new laws. It's about taking the existing laws and applying them in a much, much stricter way. It's a tightening of the screws, and you can feel it everywhere.
Now, to see what this squeeze actually looks like in practice, we've got to talk about a really specific example. There's been a massive shift in how the health of visa applicants is being looked at, and it's created a completely new kind of hurdle for people.
This slide lays it out perfectly. I mean, for the longest time, the whole health thing was about public safety, right? Preventing the spread of contagious diseases like tuberculosis. But the new guidance, it's been expanded to include all sorts of chronic, non-contagious conditions. This isn't a small tweak, it's a fundamental pivot. Yeah, we're talking about conditions like diabetes, cancer, even obesity. And think about it, none of those are things you can catch from someone. So this tells you right away, the whole reason for looking at an applicant's health has fundamentally changed. It's not about public health anymore. So it makes you wonder, right? If it's not about stopping contagious diseases anymore, what is the point? What's the real policy goal driving this new, much broader level of scrutiny? And the answer, it all comes down to this two-word legal concept, public charge. The concern has shifted from being medical to being financial. The whole point of the assessment now is to try and predict if an applicant might, down the road, end up relying on government benefits. So this isn't about today, it's a guess about someone's potential long-term cost to the system. And here's the real kicker. It's not just about you, the applicant. The officer can now look at the potential future medical bills of your dependents too. So if you have a child with a chronic condition, that can be weighed to decide if your whole family unit might become a public charge. That just widens the net dramatically. Okay, so that's one big change. Another huge one? The stakes for overstaying a visa have gotten way, way higher. The consequences have gone from being a future problem to a very immediate risk. And this really reflects a bigger policy focus on interior enforcement, where just being out of status can trigger direct action. In the past, if you overstayed your visa, it was mainly an administrative headache. It would create problems for you if you tried to come back to the US years later. But now, according to reports, the risk of immediate enforcement, we're talking detention, has gone way up, even for people who have no criminal record at all. So the bottom line here is this. The margin for error has pretty much disappeared. Simple administrative carelessness, like filing your extension paperwork a little late, now carries a much bigger, much more immediate risk than it ever did before. Being on time is absolutely crucial. But here's where the story gets really interesting. This administrative tightening, this squeezing, it isn't happening in a vacuum. As the agencies are expanding their power, we're seeing a real pushback from the courts. And that is creating a fascinating tug-of-war inside the system. So to really get what's happening, we need to zoom in on one very specific high-level visa. It's called the EB-1A. And it's for people with extraordinary ability. We're talking about top scientists, world-class artists, star business people, the best of the best. Now, the way these visas are judged is this kind of two-step dance. Step one is pretty objective.
You have to prove you meet at least 3 criteria from a list of 10. Things like winning major rewards or having a really high salary. But if you pass that, you move to this very subjective second step, the final merits determination. And this is where things got really sticky. You'd have these incredibly accomplished people who would easily check off, say, 4 or 5 boxes in step 1, no problem. But then, in step 2, a single adjudicator could look at the whole package and just say, you know what? I'm just not convinced you're truly at the very top of your field. It became this subjective roadblock.
And that's when the court stepped in and said, whoa, hold on a minute. A federal judge ruled that this super subjective final merit step actually violates the law, specifically the Administrative Procedure Act, which basically says government agencies have to play by fair and consistent rules. The court said this subjective second guessing wasn't part of the official playbook, and that was a huge deal.
So, what does this all mean when you put it together? Well, you've got this collision happening, right? On one side, you have administrative agencies tightening the screws, and on the other side, you have the judiciary pushing back, saying, not so fast, you have to follow the rules. And this is creating a brand new and frankly very complex landscape for people to navigate. This table really pulls it all together. First, that increased scrutiny, especially on health, means you've got to be ready to document your financial and medical situation inside and out. Second, that harsher enforcement means there is zero tolerance for being late on anything. Timely filing is everything. And finally, that judicial review gives people a powerful new tool, a new way to challenge decisions that seem arbitrary or unfair. And all of this leaves us with one big, fascinating question for the future. We're seeing this real tension between the power of executive agencies and the oversight of the courts. And how this push and pull resolves itself, well, that's what's going to decide how we even define a qualified immigrant, not just on paper, but in reality, for years to come.